Remnant from the Ashes. I'll be honest, I did not expect much from this game. I had my eye on it for quite a while, then it kind of trailed away onto Iceborne, and then it came back, and it just, I don't know, it dwindled down. But my friends who bought it on release day, they told me that since I enjoyed Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Monster Hunter, that Remnant would be a great game to play with them. So, I bought the game, and I was not disappointed. See, Remnant has replayability like no other game has, with your friends having different bosses than you, and multiple ways to go about the story with different equipment. Not to mention that the equipment that you get is amazing, and it's just extremely fun to play with friends. I don't know what it is about Remnant, but I just love going through sieges and bosses together, and it's definitely one of my favorite multiplayer games at the moment. Since my friends and I have beaten the game and rerolled our campaigns multiple times, I've had much experience with the bosses. So, I think a top 10 video is in order, except it's going to be a top 5 because I want to keep things short and sweet this time and not have another 15-minute video for you guys. So, without further ado, my friends, my name is Josh, also known as Gorguini, and I hope you enjoy my top 5 favorite bosses in Remnant from the Ashes. So let me start this countdown off with a short story. My friend Tato is trying to platinum this game, right? And so he needs to fight every single boss in his world in order to achieve that goal. So, he has rerolled his campaign at least 4 times when I'm making this video trying to encounter the other world bosses. Like for example, the Ent, a world boss that replaces the root dragon Singe. I encountered the Ent on my first reroll, and he actually made a tweet about me because of it. So that was nice of him. And even better, on that same reroll, I found the other boss that replaces the Totem Father, and that boss is called the Ravager. First of all, I just want to say, what an amazing design. I mean, you just can't go wrong with a 6-eyed wolf that has arms. Not only that, but the arena is very beautiful, and as a matter of fact, the entire forest area in general is just gorgeous. Regardless, my friends and I were astonished and excited when we finally found it, and it did not disappoint. Unlike a lot of bosses, the Ravager doesn't heavily rely on summoning many minions to become difficult, rather just a simple 3 archers, but man, are those archers really annoying sometimes. However, what really intrigues me is the way the Ravager summons them. Our first time fighting him, after a certain amount of damage and time, he went into the forest and we were like, where did he go? It was almost a PTSD moment of the root horror who retreated as soon as the fight started and killed the merchant. But, lo and behold, the Ravager comes back out with 3 archers on his back, and I thought that was a really cool mechanic for this fight. Basically, compared to the other bosses in this game, which I still enjoy of course, the Ravager just does everything better. He's mainly difficult because of his brutal attacks and support from the archers, but the minions don't overtake this fight from the main boss. Not to mention that the Ravager has one of the best designs in this game. Honestly, if this list only relied on design, the Ravager would probably be number 1. But as of right now, with everything on the table, the Ravager takes the number 5 spot on my list.
I happen to like my various smells and germs.
But being clean is so much better.
Well, says you. I like dirty.
Clean.
Dirty.
Clean.
Haha, funny joke. Clever, right guys? Anyways, I don't know what it is about this boss that intrigues me. I mean, well I do, it just surprises me. The Unclean one is a favorite among my friends and I, and he was actually the first roadblock we faced because this guy hits really hard. One toss from his hammer, and my health was left just large enough for one of those annoying radioactive creatures to whip my butt cheeks so that I would go down. Speaking of butt cheeks, that's an actual weak spot the Unclean one has. Don't know why, but I think it's very unique. And then there's also his head, of course, but, you know. I mean, is it just me? Is it weird that I just find this fat guy so funny and enjoyable to fight? I just love everything about him, and he really stands out from the rest of the other fights. He's not anything special, he just does. I think what really pulls him together, though, is the similarity of both his design and arena. Most bosses have an open area to run around and create space, but not this thick boy. This enclosed space helps with the intimidation factor, and with his giant hammer and big stomach, he helps makes this fight a very intimate experience with him. But in reality, if I'm being honest, there really is no definite reason for this boss being here. It's just my bias towards him is undeniable. I just like him, okay? He's a simple but charming boss that lands him here at number 4. So this is the only boss in the entire game that has no minions alongside it, which is really nice, Except this is 2 bosses in 1. The only problem is that I don't really know how to pronounce the name, so just go ahead, play the intro, and I'll meet you there. So because I still don't know how to pronounce the name, nor do I really want to try, I'm just going to name this boss the Vestboy Duo, because they look like Vestboys from Monster Hunter. Anyways, the Vestboy Duo is a very intriguing and fun boss to fight because of a few things, right? For one, you are on a tight bridge that allows limited movement, adding on to the difficulty and the amount of times you fall into the abyss. And like I said, there are no other minions in this fight, so your only focus and the only type of difficulty comes from the 2 Vestboy. What's cool though is that my friend Tato and I discovered that you can actually unleash the second boss from the cocoon already wounded. So you either can wait for the second one to pop out on its own and focus on the first, or you can summon the second one much quicker with injuries already. It's an interesting mechanic that you can choose to use or not. It's not forced upon you. And the design is another thing too. Usually when you have 2 bosses in this game, they are a duo that complement each other, like Shatter and Shade or Scald and Seer. But these 2 are the exact same, and I like that duplicity. It kind of gives off that hive vibe, if that makes sense. I mean, they're insects, and I love insects, and that all makes sense to me, so yeah. Now this is also the first boss on this list that my friends and I needed to strategize, because if you go in there with no game plan, have fun kissing the ground at a very large speed. And this was the plan. Very simple. Separate the bosses so that we could focus on one Vestboy by ourselves and team up on the remaining one. Unfortunately, sometimes the Vestboys would not care and just start attacking either me or Tato together, allowing a lot of this to happen. But we eventually squeezed a win out with some actually pretty darn good teamwork, and it was glorious. And that's the key component that I love about this boss. Essential teamwork. Obviously, I'm not saying that the other bosses don't have teamwork involved, but when you're on a narrow bridge with 2 bosses on both sides, strategy is a necessity. Remnant in general actually has a huge strength in cooperation, but I personally think one of its best moments is within this boss battle. The challenge, uniqueness, and design of the Vestboys was certainly captivating that landed them here at number 3. This was the hardest boss my friends and I ever faced in this game, and I will never forget the struggle and the yells of victory once we took him down. The Undying King. Like I said, this was an extremely tough boss for us, and here was our game plan, right? Tato would take care of the minions and crystals, while Angel would fight the minions as a priority and move on to the boss or crystals, something like that, while charging up the tree mod to distract every enemy in the room. As they did that, I was the main attraction, capturing the Undying King's aggro and dealing damage as I did. The problems, though, occur very soon, however, because of mainly 2 things. The freaking strong alien shooting guards, whatever they are, that were just ridiculous in numbers and in strength. And the fact that I could not dodge the Undying King's assault. Little by little though, we came closer and closer to defeating him, even securing the second phase, but we still died and we decided to upgrade our gear and come back. Once we came back, I learned at this point to dodge forward instead of dodging backward or to the side, and I would avoid most of the barrage. And we demolished not only the King's health, but his minions as well. And we also got some new mods, like the turrets, as you can see in this clip. We had like 6 turrets activated at this point, and that's when we finally defeated him. It was amazing. We realized that once he went to heal, the best spot was up on the platform with him, so we basically set up camp right in his face. And I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty easy at that point. We came back a while later in someone else's playthrough, I think it was Angel's, and we just wrecked him. You have to understand, we tried all night to defeat him, and we just couldn't. So we waited until the next day, and I would say an hour into our session, we got him. And that was certainly a Dark Souls level of satisfaction, I'm not gonna lie. Besides that entire experience, the Undying King, like the duo Vestboys, has a second phase. Well, sorta. He revives himself with a lot less health and kinda does the same thing, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, it adds on and makes the fight a little bit tougher, and he also has different waves of minions. Like I said, he has the alien guards, and then he has those weird, I don't know what to call them, but you can see it. And you know what else is pretty cool? His design. It's one of the more humanoid enemies in this game, and I actually really love it. It's nice to fight against a legendary being that can either be your enemy or your ally. Literally all this fighting over a heart. For shame, you blue loser. Regardless though, this was an amazing experience and fight that leads the Undying King to be number 2 on my list. So let's keep this one nice and simple. Ladies and gentlemen, my favorite boss. The final boss of many games are truly fantastic, and the climax of what the game has to offer in combat, challenge, and teamwork. And that certainly stands true for Remnant. I mean, Nightmare, the final boss, he's my number 1 spot. And in Remnant, this boss is the crux of the problem, the root, and so it becomes a battle against you with your friends and the root to save the world. And it's really cool when you think about it that way. Unlike the Dying King, Nightmare does have a clear distinction between his 2 phases. The first phase is a little boy, I don't really know what else to say, with, I don't know, a mini Dr. Octagonopus that has such a small hitbox. It is so hard to hit him, but he has a small health pool, so it kind of makes up for it. The second phase, however, is when the true test begins. Our first time going against Nightmare, we were doing absolutely no damage, and we had no idea what was going on. And then out of nowhere, one by one, we were being teleported to another dimension. It was so confusing. So after we died a couple of times, Tato looked up what to do, and it turns out that in that alternate dimension, the more root we killed, the bigger our buff was for a limited amount of time. So, the plan was very simple. Whoever got teleported, kill as many root as they can, while those who stayed back began preparing the field for him to return and deal a lot of damage. This was both a combination of teamwork in the arena and individual skill within the other dimension. Which, by the way, I love the way the alternate dimension looks. It's cool, you know? And the actual arena where Nightmare is, very nice, very unique. See, everyone involved contributes in some way, in multiple ways, and I love that. You have your moments in the spotlight dishing out the damage, and your moments of indestructible teamwork that most bosses can't replicate. And this was such a unique mechanic. No other boss I've ever faced has ever had this type of battle ever, and it was very refreshing. And that is why Nightmare is my favorite boss in Remnant from the Ashes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you've seen my other top 10s, they're around 50 minutes long, and I get it. Not everyone has that long of an attention span. I personally enjoy watching videos that long, so I get it. I'm trying to make something shorter for you guys. I made it a top 5, and I made my entries, you know, a little bit shorter than usual. So if you guys did enjoy this, you know, style, this format, let me know. And also, if you enjoyed Remnant, be sure to let me know what your favorite bosses are. I would love to hear that. But for now, fellow friends and family, my name is Josh, also known as Gorguini. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this. Until the next time, my friends.